Hi everyone, today is Monday, March 1st. Happy Monday. Today we sort of leave the geography, the climate, and the regional mapping of Italy and the city of Rome and where it began civilization. And we start talking about how the civilization was founded. And today we'll talk about legends. We'll be focusing on the legends for the next couple days. So Rome's legendary beginnings. It's wrapped in some mystery. So there are really two legends, founding legends for the Romans. But first we'll talk about what we have, because a legend is not always proven. Okay, so we have an early mystery, and we have this early mystery about how these people began, where they began living their civilization, putting together what would become the civilization of Rome. But we do have archaeological evidence to support these findings. So the earliest known ancient people lived in the area of Rome, the actual city itself, around 800 BCE, and that's about 2,800 years ago from today. Okay, so 2,800 years ago, people started living, but not just living in this area. People have been living in these areas for thousands and thousands of years, even before this. This was the first people that started to settle in this region, and the reasons why they would do so. Okay, so around 2,800 years ago, the archaeological evidence, the evidence that we pull out of the ground and examine and study, says that these earliest people were no doubt attracted to this area because I have two reasons. It's actually three reasons when you think about it. The first is it had these hills for protection, where the city of Rome is today and where it was when it was the capital of this impressive and powerful empire. It was founded on 7 hills. And hills are used for protection. We've talked about it with ancient Greece. If you create build a fortress, you want it to be on the high ground so you can see your enemies approaching, and nobody wants to be at the bottom of a hill fighting upward. You always want to be at the top. You want that high ground. The second reason is because it's a freshwater source, where Rome was started where the Tiber River is. We've labeled that last week on the map. You should know where that is. The third reason is truly because, and we talked about it more on Thursday and Friday last week, but it's that climate. These people want to produce food. They want to live in a place where there are seasons, at least warmth, and seasons where you can grow food, because we know that a civilization cannot exist without a surplus of food, without extra food. And that's why it really becomes the third reason as to why these very earliest people started to settle in this area. Okay? So we're talking about hills for protection, we're talking about the Tiber River as a freshwater source, and we're talking about the climate. Remember right now that we're focusing just on the area of the city of Rome itself, and not the massive empire it would become. So legend number 1, we'll talk about 2 legends today, and you'll have an ability to be creative tomorrow. So the Romans wanted to believe that their history could be traced back to these epic beginnings. Imagine that, I told you, don't worry about where you come from or who your family is, but what if you could create a story about how you came into existence? What would that story be? You would definitely want it to be like a really cool, interesting, and kind of fun story. But imagine being a civilization like Rome, you want this story to be one that reflects your superior beginnings. You want it to be like reflective of I come from the gods, right? You want to say something. If you have the right to create this whole story about where you and your family came from, you want it to be awesome. You're not going to be like, yeah, so we started, it was a rainy day when I was born, and I had a pretty quiet upbringing. You want it to be this story that people tell and repeat over and over. So the Romans wanted to believe one of these legends was that they could trace their lineage, their history, their beginnings back to the city of Troy and the Trojan hero Aeneas, who flees the city when the Greeks are burning it. So the story goes, when the Greeks are burning down the city of Troy, and we've talked about this a few months ago now, Aeneas fled with the survivors of the city of Troy and the sword of Troy. And the sword of Troy was sort of this legendary sword, and Aeneas was a prince of Troy. He's a hero of Troy, and well, he's not really a prince of Troy, I guess, but he becomes the guy that takes on the actual history of the Trojans. Like that's the day that Troy was burned down and ended. But these people following Aeneas, the people fleeing Troy, are Trojans that need a new home. And so Aeneas takes the sword of Troy. He takes these survivors running away from a burned city. After a very long journey in months, if not years, he reaches the peninsula of Italy. There, the story goes, he makes alliances with the local people that live there. These are called the Latins. And then they start this great civilization in the area of what Rome is today, and that would be Aeneas beginning a new impressive city. It's sort of like you're carrying on what what Troy meant to these people. So the Romans are saying, we're not just, a bunch of farmers who started a civilization. We come from the end of the Trojans, which is this wonderful lineage of heroes and wealth and this impressive city of Troy. But it's kind of like Rome's Troy 2.0, right? And so here are here's a famous statue of, this would be Aeneas fleeing the burning city of Troy with Trojans, with children, with elderly, with women, and fleeing the burning city, right, to start somewhere anew, okay? And this is famous paintings here of the Greeks are killing the king of Troy, Priam. They're killing, this is the city burning down, they're being slaughtered, but this hero, Aeneas, takes the people that can't defend themselves and he flees. And so that first legend is that Aeneas takes these people, leads them to the spot of where Rome is, and it becomes the idea that the Romans, the city of Rome, and eventually the civilization of Rome, emerges from the ashes of a burning civilization of Troy, one that was highly accomplished as well. Okay? So your first legend really is just a legend of this guy, Aeneas, fleeing the city of Rome, fleeing the city of Troy as it burns, saving as many of his people as he can, traveling very long distances. I think it's something like, the legend says 7 years. I think it was something like 7 years, that they flee, and then they find these people, these Latins. They they start living in this area where these Latins are. They become allies, and they start this great civilization of Rome. Second legend, okay, let's say that I was like, create a story of where you come from and who your parents are if you didn't know your parents, or if you could create a new story. Well, the Romans did that too. And legend number 2 is the second legend, where it includes the descendants of Aeneas, so the people that were born after Aeneas. These descendants are called Romulus and Remus. They're twins, and there's a lot of differences in this story. Remember, it's a legend, it's not fact. At least we don't have evidence that it's fact. So the legend has it that these two twins were put into a basket in the river Tiber. They were rescued from the river and raised by wolves. Later on, a shepherd, there's a whole story to it. I'm not giving you specifics on purpose because you'll be reading it and answering questions in just a few minutes. Later on, they become these two powerful men that are twins. They decide that they want to build a city, and they get in an argument over where it should be located. And I don't really want to give you much more information than that because I want you to read the text instead. However, the Romans like to believe that the founders of their civilization are these two twins that were raised by a she-wolf. This would be them breastfeeding. How can a wolf raise two young human infants, like twins and toddlers like this? Had to feed them, had to provide shelter, had to provide safety and warmth for them and food. And so this second legend is one where these two twins, these two babies, are raised by a wolf in the area of where the city of Rome is today. That's why they were placed in the river, okay, the Tiber River, where Rome is today as well. And think of it like the Romans wanted this legend of, we're so tough, we're so, we're tougher than everyone else. We were raised by wolves, like we come from wolves. We are, think of it like that. So these two legends are not proven to be true. However, the Romans like to trace their lineage back to Aeneas, which means back to the city of Troy. As it burned, Rome became like the second birth of or rebirth of the Trojan civilization, only even better. And the other legend is that these two twins were raised by wolves, and this is where all Romans are coming from, and that's why they're so tough. That's why they are able to create this civilization and win wars and keep people away, protect their people, because this is who they come from. They come from these twins that were raised by wolves. Okay? So you're going to go back into Google Classroom. You should have already completed the Edpuzzle as you do now, and that means that you are going to work on the Google form, and there's some text for you to read there, and you're going to pull your answers directly from that text. You're not going anywhere else to find that information. If you do go anywhere else to find that information, you'll receive the wrong information. Okay?